Welcome to another episode of You Don't Need a Hamster, You Need a Therapist. I stole your
You
line.
need pixels. I was going to say, you need a better camera. But it doesn't mean because it's not actually the camera, is it? So
No,
and actually, I bet
I can see me fine.
no, exactly. And also, I bet you've got a snazzier laptop than me anyway. So actually, you have got a better camera. So that's just actually fake news. Anyway, continue.
Exactly. Today, me and Hannah are here to talk about the things that we feel embarrassed about that we really should not feel embarrassed about. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, we're here to talk about all the things that are just feel unnecessarily embarrassing and awkward.
My existence.
So we set a task. We had homework this week, didn't we? 3 experiences. Okay, well, Hannah's not done it. Brilliant. The PDA's kicked in.
What was the homework?
3 experiences or 3 things that come to mind when you that you feel really embarrassed about, but then when you think about it, they shouldn't be that embarrassing.
Okay, I can think of those on the spot.
Yeah, that's the thing.
My whole life is actually one massive thread of embarrassment. So
yeah, but that's not the point, is it? It's not meant to be about things that are actually embarrassing.
oh, they're not allowed to be actually embarrassing. Oh god, this is really narrowing it down for me.
Well, exactly. Because I know you've got a lot of embarrassing things.
I'm never embarrassed.
Do you know what my thing was?
What?
What's the thing where it's like cool people don't get embarrassed? They just bounce back from it or whatever. Not me. That's not me.
Sorry. I find the whole concept of cool people really jarring. I really don't enjoy that. I had a conversation with someone last year, and they were like, don't you just really want to be cool? And I was like, no.
Are you sure?
No, but I don't even think that's a thing.
No, I don't know either.
To be cool.
There's a lot of people,
what is being cool? What is cool apart from fucking cold? You know what I mean? What is cool? What is the definition of cool? And then I listened to a podcast. Me and your parents both listened to this podcast. They were talking about cool and how cool is I don't know.
I wouldn't trust their opinion on anything though, to be honest.
Who? Your parents?
Well, yeah, them. I just think, and this is coming from 2 people who... What?
I'm not talking about your parents.
I know you're not talking about my parents. I know you're talking about Richard and Marina.
I am, yes. And it was very interesting there. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with either of their opinions of cool, but I don't know, do people want to be cool when they leave the age of 13? Because if they do, that is inherently very uncool.
I think cool changes, doesn't it? It's
what do you think cool is?
No, but I think the idea of what cool is changes, and so you wouldn't necessarily say I want to be cool, but I'd say the people who want to be aesthetic, that's kind of cool, isn't it? But it's
well, if I'd say I think nuns are cool.
You've lost it, okay. No, but I mean the thing I feel
do you not think nuns are really cool? To be a nun,
really?
that is so cool to be a nun. To be you know what, I'm going to devote my life to something that I don't really even have any physical proof of, and be celibate. That's legendary. Whoa, that's
to be honest, great. It sounds like your life. You could be a nun.
How could I be a nun?
Well, you're celibate.
That's what you think. No,
Lol.
yeah, okay, the celibate. Well, also, no, that's not celibate. That's okay. Let's just not talk about my sex life right now. Beverly's listening. Let's not talk about Beverly's sex life either. That is celibate.
Let's be honest. Just a bunch of celibates now.
No, that wasn't the point. I can't be a nun because I'm not a Christian.
Yeah, clearly.
So, but I didn't. Okay, so you don't think nuns are cool? Well, who else is cool?
There are cool people. I'll tell you who's cool.
Late Pope. Why is this so religious? The late Pope, he was pretty cool. Although I only ever saw his dead body, so actually I can't really comment.
Stop it with you saw his dead body. Ridiculous.
Really interesting. Okay, I'm trying to think of people who I think are cool. I do know someone who's cool. There's someone at my uni who's really cool.
Yeah. Well, when I think of her, I don't think cool necessarily. I think icon.
True. No, I do think cool. I think because she doesn't give a fuck. That's why I think cool is the people who like genuinely, without trying, without thinking that they don't give a fuck, just don't genuinely actually are like icons. Obviously, like, I don't think that to be cool, you don't have to like you can care, like you will care, but like I think fundamentally, like there's got to be an element of like borderline
unfazed by things. I think it's interesting because I just feel like cool is like a real thing.
The whole episode was about what the definition of cool was. Well, it wasn't the whole episode actually, but that's what it ended up being. And Marina and Richard had very different opinions on what cool was.
Anyway, this episode actually isn't about cool, although that was an interesting tangent.
I've completely forgotten what this episode is actually about.
Things we find embarrassing that actually aren't embarrassing.
Okay.
In trying to think of things, I failed as well. Don't worry. Like, I know you didn't do the homework. I failed. I only came up with 2. So.
Well, embarrassing if we go definition of cool. What were you saying about cool? Why did that even come up?
Don't know.
So we never actually got to the reason why you brought it up in the first place. You brought it up in relation to the topic of embarrassing. But it not actually being embarrassing. Is that because like it was like because you're trying to be cool, and that's why you thought things were embarrassing that weren't actually embarrassing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I genuinely can't remember. Well, maybe I've got memory problems. I doubt it. I actually found it quite hard because a lot of the ones that I was thinking of were mainly like things that stem from my people pleasing, and it's more about like feeling awkward about putting like having to ask other people for things. But okay. I thought it's not because I find it embarrassing. It's not like I find it awkward because I'm like, oh, it's because I'm like, oh, I don't want to put people out.
Whereas, so Beverly would love this. Beverly would absolutely love this because, so growing up, I had all of these rules that I viewed as absolute God's honest truth, like gospel. They were like Bible. Like I was like, absolutely, these are the law. Beverly, on the other hand, was absolutely adamant that these were not a thing at all. And I would go absolutely mental if people broke these rules that I had set. I didn't set them. I was like, no, I didn't set them. I was like, they're just like they are just the truth. Like
what?
They are.
Give me an example.
So there was so many different ones. I was like, so basically at parents' evening, this is Beverly's specific favourite. It actually ended really badly, but we won't go into that detail of what happened afterwards. But anyway, at parents' evening, there were like in the main hall that like this is in secondary school when like you at some point like randomly you end up going to like 2 parents' evenings. It's really odd. But like there was these chairs. I think it was around GCSE, and there were like chairs in like the main school hall, and like I was like, you don't just sit on them, Beverly. You're not allowed to just sit on these chairs. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I got actually so triggered. I was like, no, it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing for you to sit on one of these chairs in the hall. Like, I was like hyperventilating. Like, probably stand up. I was like, cause it's just so embarrassing. I was like, no one else is sitting down. Fucking stand up right here, right now. And she was like, Hannah, what the hell? We have to stop on tables. That's not even true. And it was like, yeah, but I was like, no, it's so embarrassing, baby. It's so embarrassing for you to just sit down. Like, no one else is sat. This was literally like 10 years ago, and it's still there, right in the forefront of my brain. And I've got trauma, so I've forgotten most of my childhood. But I remember that. Beverly trying to perch on these pissing chairs, and I'm like, Beverly, stand up. And then, yeah. And I was like, no, it's embarrassing, baby. It's really embarrassing. You're, like, embarrassing me by, like, Actually, to be fair, the whole of my mum's presents used to really embarrass me. I'll be honest. For a long time, being public with Beverly was actually so embarrassing. Like, I viewed that as so embarrassing. Like, being in public with my family, I found embarrassing, but actually is awkward. But yeah, no, I found that so embarrassing. And actually, on the whole,
I think there's a point where you grow out of that almost. Because I used to find that.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you. Parents' evening is a real
embarrassment. That is embarrassing. Parents' evening is embarrassing on all fronts.
Shall I tell you my favourite parents' evening story?
Go on, then.
And this was one where Jill and Dave, well, it was actually only Jill was there, but wasn't embarrassing me, but a teacher did embarrass themselves. We went over to my science teacher, sat down, started having a conversation. It just becomes so, like, about 2 minutes in, it's so clear that this teacher does not know who I am.
Iconic. Like, but Beverly had so many of them.
He is like but he was like my science teacher who I had every day. So I was like, I don't know how you don't know who I am. Oh. This was GCSE year as well.
I got through the whole of school with no one knowing, and then like went feral in sixth form, and everyone's like, "What the hell's happened?" Beverly used to take a photo of me in her purse because like up until like year 10 and 11 we didn't go.
Did you not go with her then?
No, we didn't go until like year 9, year 10. Parents weren't without you.
I always went to parents' evening.
Did you go in primary school?
Yeah.
No,
I went in primary school. Get this. Now this is like one of those. This is probably one of mine. I find it so embarrassing looking back on it. I'm like, when you actually put it into perspective, it's like you were just a child. I used to get so dressed up for parents' evening. I would be like in like ball gowns. It was ridiculous. No, well, not ball gowns, but I'd be in like proper like fancy dresses to go to parents' evening.
Oh, that's cute.
It got to a point where it wasn't cute. Like, I was still doing it in year 6, and that's not cute anymore. Like, when you're 11 years old.
I was going to say, like, year 10 and the Disney princess dress might have been too far. That might actually be one of those things that's not just seems embarrassing. I mean, iconic. But yeah. I used to be embarrassed about ordering food.
Yeah, I used to be... Yeah. I still am. Oh, I tell you, this is actually a good one. Wow, they're all coming to my mind now. When I go shopping, and if I'm buying, like, lots of food...
Yes.
I know where that coming. Like, we all know where that's coming from.
That's what I was gonna say, because like that ordering, like buying food, that I find that ridiculously embarrassing. Ordering takeaway, find that ridiculously embarrassing. I find it really like I get to the point that I literally on my like delivery thing, I'm like leave on the door because there's like a meeting going on. There's not. I just really don't want to interact. Like I'm so embarrassed to meet the person who's delivering my food to me.
Same with drive-throughs. If I'm in the drive-through on my own, literally I want to die. But at the same time, I'm like, do I want this Mackey's? Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with getting a Mackey's on my own on a Thursday night? No.
But is that eating disorder, or is that like, I don't know.
I don't know that it's necessarily, because I think probably people do experience that. I think part of it is like the mentality around food.
Mm.
But then I find like there are other things that are unlinked to trauma that I'm like...
Yeah, but I find it really embarrassing to eat eggs.
That's so rogue. Why?
I actually find it embarrassing. Like, I don't like them anymore. But when I was a bit younger, before, you know, when I used to like the odd egg sandwich, and that was so embarrassing. I wouldn't tell anybody that I liked egg sandwiches. You know what? I still get embarrassed the fact that I like mayo.
I have that with mushy peas.
See, I'm not judging you for liking mushy peas.
No, and I'm not judging you for liking mayo. That's the whole thing, isn't it? It's not actually embarrassing.
It's actually not embarrassing. No.
I tell you what, my big one that inspired this episode was. So, at work, we use like Google Drives loads. And when I was like 11, probably 10 or 11, I started a babysitting company. I had approximately 0 customers, but
You're allowed to babysit at 11. Surely that's not even illegal.
No, I know. Don't even. Anyway, but I set up a Gmail. Like, I set up a Gmail with my street name. My insert street name.
Sorry, the way you said street name, I was thinking you said like your street name, like your gang name.
No. Like my road name, the road that I lived on. So insert road name, babysitting at gmail.com. And
yes,
then
this is why I can never
now,
find your email.
well, exactly. Now, whenever I have to do anything through Gmail, although I've linked it to my normal email, it still comes up with that one. And so then at work, this was happening. And then the other day, my boss was like laughing about it. And it was like a secret, like I knew that it was linked to that account, but I remember I was just like, it was like a secret, like, fear that people were going to find out that I had this email, and I was like, that's so embarrassing. And then when I was thinking about it the other day, I was like, Millie, I'm not gonna lie, you were 10. Also, it helped because I just thought, wow, do you know what, we've all made bad decisions, haven't we, about our email names when we were young.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do you want to know another different, on a completely different note, thing that like I don't have anymore because I don't have periods, but getting a, like, if you went to the toilet in public and you didn't, like, as in like into the toilet, not like, and you had to like take your sanitary equipment out of your bag and into the thing, and the need to shove it in. Like, I remember
I
in
still
school,
do it. I still tuck it up my sleeve.
oh yeah, that's always, I would, but I don't have periods, so. But like I used to literally up the sleeve. The worst one though was I was wearing like trousers, and I stuck it in the top of my trousers, but my trousers were baggy and it fell out the other end as I walked. Oh my god! I'm talking about periods. Well, everything about it, because they shouldn't be embarrassing, but it isn't. That's why. I think everyone can relate. Is going into the toilet, right?
Yeah.
And the rustling of it. So
The
like I
rustling's
used to
a
literally
lot.
sit.
Rustling is a lot.
I would sit there and wait until the toilet was empty to rustle. Or I would flush the toilet and then like rip bits, flush the toilet, rip, flush the toilet, rip. That's so feral. Why did I do that? I find that embarrassing as well. Like being in the toilet for a long period of time.
Yeah, but like most of the time I just sit on my phone on the toilet. I can't lie. Call me gross.
Normally I'm just
but
blowing
like
my nose. I'm usually blowing my nose because it's like bleeding.
Oh Christ.
Because it's perforated. Oh no, but honestly, the amount of rules that I had, Beverly literally would like have an absolute fit all the time. I'm trying to think what else. No, I'm sorry. Like I find like taking the dog for a walk and him having a poo really embarrassing.
You should be embarrassed taking Teddy for a walk, especially when a horse comes past.
Taking Teddy for a walk is the most embarrassing thing ever. Like, also because the thing is, he can't even do his own bowel movement. He like spins in a circle, then stands in it, and you think, sorry, like, what are you doing? And then doesn't want to be associated with his own excrement, so then he's like pulling you as you're trying to like.
No.
Do you know what else? I find it really, really embarrassing that my local Costa like know me and know my order, even though I have exactly the same thing. I find that so embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing. I think that's quite cool.
Do you see? Whereas that actually, sometimes I actually like will deliberately like walk like an extra half an hour just to go to a different Costa in the opposite direction, just because I'm actually so embarrassed that they like know me.
It's interesting because I think them knowing you at Costa is cool, but then I also find it embarrassing when I go into Aldi for my 7th time, because there's an Aldi right round the corner from work, so I always go in there.
Yeah,
and it's always the same security guard, and I'm like, yeah, I'm back again. Hey. So I don't find it cool when I do it, but I find it cool when you do it. Like, for other people to have that.
I find being on buses really embarrassing. I find navigating being on a bus, I find that so embarrassing.
Being out of breath, I find that embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, same.
You know when I had it the other day, and I ran up some stairs and then I was talking to people, but I didn't let myself get my breath back. And you know that thing where you're like out of breath, but you're trying to force yourself to breathe normally, but it's just making the fact that you're out of breath worse. I hate it so much. Asking people to get out of the way. I just hate that.
Oh, no, I don't get embarrassed by that. I get angry though.
No, I can't. I get quite flustered.
I find having like lots of luggage really embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, lots of bags. That's not ideal.
I really hate being on public transport, but especially buses, because like.
No, I love that. I think there's something, but that's like, I guess that's the whole thing with this episode, is like there's so many things that we all find embarrassing. The majority of the time when we say something's embarrassing, it's generally because someone's behaving in a way that we don't think is acceptable. But like, actually, a lot of the things that we think are embarrassing aren't actually unacceptable ways to behave. Really I just think like, actually, there's not a lot in life that is that deep. There is actually a lot that is that deep, but
no, the thing I think when it comes to embarrassment, I think that we've hit the nail on the head there. I think the thing with embarrassment is that when it's like it's somebody who should know better does something. I think that maybe that's the thing. So it's like, because it's not embarrassing if you don't know better. That it's related to that. Like, obviously, like, so like it's embarrassing to do like what the thing you just described, because like there was just like, whereas like, you know, ultimately although, you know, it's really hard.
I think like it's you don't want to
shame people, but some things are just embarrassing. It's like, it's embarrassing, you know, to lie. That's embarrassing.
But I also think, just like embarrassment, everyone has their own standards of what's embarrassing. And I don't think, like, it's almost like you don't need to compare your standard of embarrassment to somebody else. Like, one thing that you do, I might think is embarrassing, but you don't. And that's okay. You don't need to impose it on other people.
What do you think that I do that's embarrassing?
Nothing. That was just like a hypothetical.
I was just wondering.
I feel like we've lost the plot a little bit.
I don't think I've lost the plot.
But maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is the point of the episode, is that we don't really know what embarrassment is.
This is quite embarrassing episode.
This episode's a bit embarrassing because it turns out we don't really understand it. But I don't think we need to understand it. I think it's just like that thing of like, we are universally connected.
I'm not being funny, Millie. I don't think anyone's coming here for like actual sane advice, are they? Because if they are, they need to turn. That's embarrassing. If they're coming here for some sane advice, that's embarrassing. Turn yourself around and go and find yourself an actual therapist. Ask Google AI. That's more right. Oh, that's another thing that's always embarrassing, is like when you're like wearing shorts and your body like you like move on a chair and it sounds like you farted and you haven't.
Yeah. Having sweat patches, like everybody once in their life has had sweat patches, and yet everybody always finds it. Or sweaty hands. I'm the worst.
Being sweaty in general, I find being sweaty in general really embarrassing.
But then like being hot, everyone does.
I find being hot really embarrassing. Like, I find that so embarrassing, but I do think that actually links to my eating disorder, so.
Well, I don't really know what this episode has been. So I think I feel like we should maybe end the episode here.
Maybe we might need to, to be honest, we might end the podcast, actually, I think.
I think what we've done by making this podcast about things that are embarrassing is we've made quite an embarrassing podcast episode, where we couldn't quite figure out what the actual point is, because we realised we couldn't figure out why people get embarrassed. Or what is embarrassing. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that embarrassment is just a concept.
Your imagination.
Yeah. Because if we're honest about it, children, not really embarrassed.
Although they're getting embarrassed younger.
They are getting embarrassed younger, which is very sad for them.
It's the pressure
for a society. But maybe that's the point of this episode, is that it's basically all made up and we shouldn't be feeling embarrassed about anything.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think this is the best episode we've done so far. So authentic and so like, you don't need a therapist, you need a therapist. So on brand.
So on brand. You might need a therapist. We
Any
might
homework
need a
for next week?
therapist. Sorry?
Any homework for next week?
No, I've not planned it. I'm thinking of doing one on tough love. I'm thinking we should do one on tough love.
That's so interesting. That's not something that I have much experience of. Because my life has just all been tough. Fuck out the love.
So maybe we'll do that next week. I think that might be an interesting one. We've actually got it planned. What the hell? Do you know what? I had really good intentions this week for the podcast. I was like, we're going to film it early. We're going to get it done like maybe on Wednesday. And it's Friday. God knows when I'm going to edit it. I'm going to see Ollie Murs on Sunday.
Oh my gosh, is he still around?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, with that.
Tough love, everyone. Don't be embarrassed. It's fine.
See you next week. Bye.